Thank you for joining us on another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast here on a Monday night, Memorial Day night. How's it going? With your co-host, Kirk.
Oh, you weren't asking me.
No, I wasn't asking you. I don't care about what's going for you.
How dare you?
I don't care. I don't care.
How's it going, everyone but Kirk? I want to
right.
know. Is Cam Wiggs? That's his mantra. That's how he's feeling. I got 3 days off. I couldn't care less about this guru in the Hawaiian shirt across town from him. That's what's going on. I see.
Yeah, you're rocking some good Memorial Day vibes. You got the Hawaiian shirt, barbecue ready. Gotta love it. I'm your other co-host, Cam. We're here. It's Monday, so we're here. Memorial Day or not, we are here, ready to stream, ready to talk about all of the goings on in the movie and TV world. Of course, it is Memorial Day, as I mentioned. So definitely want to give our most profound thanks and honor to all those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms. And some of those freedoms allow us to do really stupid things like stream and watch movies all the time and watch TV shows and watch Stranger Things at 2 a.m. And those things are dumb, but they're also part of what makes freedom such an awesome thing. You get to do whatever you want. And there are people out there who have paid the ultimate price to sacrifice that for us. And there are people out there whose family members have done that. So if your family members, whether they be active duty or you lost somebody due to their military service, we want to thank you for your sacrifice as well. Just a great day to remember those. Glad we take the time to do it and to get to exercise our freedoms with a little bit of, I don't know, here around these parts, we do some barbecuing. We do some swimming if the weather's okay. I don't know what they do everywhere else, but that's sort of the middle America thing. We do some cornhole.
Yeah.
Which is like the most ridiculous word. I've always called it bags, but cornhole just sounds like so Midwestern. So I try to just call it bags.
Like just so gross.
Cornhole. It does, but it's so fun.
Like a backwards joke on Rocko's Modern Life, but really it is a wooden slab with a hole cut into it that you try to get a sandbag through. That's all it is. That's really all it is.
That's all it is. And it's so fun.
Someone at some point said, we should call this thing cornhole.
There's a hole. There's not corn, to my knowledge. I mean, there's bean bags.
Are they filled with corn?
Maybe that was the secret all along, Kirk. Maybe it's just corn kernels in there, not beans.
Right back. I got to go cut open.
Not rice, not beans, nothing. Anyway, so happy Memorial Day. Hopefully you got the day off to celebrate. And we had a good 3-day weekend. We started our 3-day weekend on Friday night at an event that we talked about last week on the stream. So I wanted to give a recap of that. The Cinema St. Louis I Love Movies Trivia Night, 18th annual, 18 years they've been running this thing. This was their first time back since the pandemic. And we were lucky enough to be invited by a team of highly qualified participants who have been a part of this thing for a long time. And I sort of theorized last show that we would sort of be the bench warmers on this team, on that team. And I think that ended up being the case, but our team won, Kirk. Let's hold on. Let me throw this up on the screen because we got to get a look at this team. This is what champions look like. This is what greatness looks like right here. One sec. Let me pull it up. This is our team. I'm not going to share their names.
Casual movie lovers.
I don't know how many
casual movie lovers.
That's right. I don't know how many of them would want to be mentioned on the podcast or the stream, so I'm gonna keep their anonymity intact. But this is our team right here. This is victory. This is us. Minus one person who took off, but before we got the picture, before we had the idea to have the picture, so It's not the full team. But man, this was a team effort. Kirk and I we tried to pull our weight the best we could. I think we did okay. Kirk, how would you rate yourself and me?
Oh man.
On a scale of 10 kernels.
if you, oh no. I want to talk about this picture real quick and the uniformity. This team was so collaborative, and I think every single one of us comes from all different walks of life. To describe to you this picture, if you're only listening, there are 3 people in blue shirts and 4 people in black shirts, and we have perfectly spaced this picture out. That's how just telepathically we knew where we needed to stand to make this fully even, and that's what this team was. It was fully even.
It was.
I think Cam and I came in with some big obscure hitters and some newer answers, and then you had some experts with just a vast wisdom
Oh
of
my
movie
gosh.
history and film history and cinema
Incredible.
history, that they came in and they just knew these crazy things and these crazy connections that we would have thought that we would love to value ourselves on. And I think one day we will get there. And this is where we vow to never sleep again, to watch every movie ever made in history.
We were talking before it. You really do need a team that's well rounded, because there are so many. Like, film is such a ginormous category. Like, you would think that you might think that a film, like a trivia night based on one topic of questions, would be somewhat easy, but film, like, is enormous. Like,
Yes.
like I've seen over 1,000 movies. I know Kirk's at the same point. I mean, that's just what I have tracked in Letterboxd. I'm sure I've seen even more than that. But even if you've seen 2,000, 3,000 movies, there are still so many things, so many gaps that you could have in your knowledge base. It's just such a massive category. So I feel like it honestly went as well as I could have thought it would go. Like, I feel most confident in the last 20 years of movies, like last 20 to 25 years. And when those questions came up, I felt like you and I had the answer. There was a Marvel category. Thank God. We crushed that 10 for 10. Nope. Our team only missed 3 points on the night, which is like, I've been to a lot of trivia nights. That is far and away the most dominant performance I've ever been a part of. My teams usually don't place. So that was awesome, but it was just, it was a great time. Good vibes, great group. Really sharp people, know lots about movies, and we learned a ton from them and had a blast.
Yep, I'm not going to rate ourselves. I'm going to rate our team, because that's what it came down to. No individual effort. It came down to, we were a 9.7 out of 10 kernels, because we got 97 out of
97 out of 100
points.
points.
That's
Good
right.
point. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Though I will always be haunted by the 1 point that I cost our team. Because it was about Night at the Museum, a movie that I've seen many times in my youth.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot the name of the dinosaur. I just assumed, like, the T-Rex at the Field Museum is named Sue. And so as soon as they said, what's the name of the dinosaur from Night at the Museum, I was like, it's Sue. It's Sue. It's got to be. I didn't even think twice. And then I realized that they called the dinosaur Rexy. And man, haunted.
Right.
Haunted.
Well,
but it's all good.
I'm slightly haunted, not entirely, because this movie was so obscure that one of the items that I assisted with was a movie with Jessica Chastain, and it had haunting involved in it. And I said, "Oh, that has to be the Crimson something." And we talked it around the table. It was almost like telephone at times, because it was kind of loud at times, and it turned out to be Crimson Peak was our answer, and the answer was actually Mama. I'm like, Mama, what? And sure enough, they threw the image up there, and I've never heard or seen of that film.
So you shouldn't feel bad about it, because our table would have never come up with that answer. It is an obscure movie, and I remember seeing the trailer for it, and even knowing what the movie was, I never would have pinned that Jessica Chastain was in it. I never would have come up with that, because she looks different in that movie, and it's such a weird movie. It's a horror movie, first of all, and it's just like way different. And that was the thing I learned. There was a whole Jessica Chastain category, and I feel like I've seen 75% of her filmography, but she has done everything. Like, she doesn't have that many credits, but her credits are like all over the board. It was so crazy to see that in that category. I was amazed.
Yeah,
but
it's
overall,
funny. I kept wishing for like a really obscure piece of film knowledge that I don't think anyone else knew, or very few people. Like Jennifer Aniston's first on-screen debut was in Mac and Me, in the dance number, like things like that. I'm like, please give that to me. And of course that didn't happen, but we got Mama. And so bravo to the writers, because of the
good question writers,
because they were very difficult, but not crazy difficult where no one scored. I think the lowest scoring team got above 70 points. So
yeah,
excellent job.
It was competitive. It was good. We had a good time. So shout out again to Cinema St. Louis. Like I said, they're a nonprofit organization in the St. Louis area. So if you're in the St. Louis area, like I know many of our listeners are, check them out. They have memberships. You can pay to be a member. You can donate to them. They're all about supporting the arts and supporting cinema and all the same things that we're about here. They just, they've been doing it for a long time, and they do a great job. So cinemastlewis.org if you want to check out more about them and the events that they have, of which there are many. And some of them most of them are really cool. So be sure to check that out. But we had a great time. Maybe we'll get invited back next year. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm hoping that some of our team members, we're definitely going to stay in touch with them, and hopefully, we were already having conversations about maybe having a couple of them on the podcast here in the near future. So that could be a great time. But at the end of the day, I Love Movies Trivia Night, massive success. 2022, we got it.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we always go back and forth about when to do like in memoriam type of things, because we go back and forth on like, that's not really what we try to talk about, because we try to keep it light. We try to, provide an escape. That's what I always want when I listen to a podcast. It's just like, I don't want to think about anything else that's going on. I just want to like focus on the good stuff that's happening and be excited. But I felt like we couldn't go a whole podcast without mentioning Ray Liotta, because I know that you and I were personally, you and I both were such big fans of his. And this was one that felt like a gut punch. Totally out of nowhere, 67 years old. And really like, he's been in the prime of his career and at the peak of his powers since, the 1990s. And so it's like, man, you just know that he had so much more to give. I know that he was filming some things. I know that I think he was filming something and he passed away in his sleep. Like he was on location somewhere. That's right. So it's just like, man, you get robbed of greatness. You get robbed of more Ray Liotta. I mean, ever since Goodfellas, that performance obviously etched in the minds of so many cinephiles around the world. But also, Killing Them Softly, and he had some really funny roles too, like off the wall roles. And he just embraced all of it. Like I always think about his role in Marriage Story.
Yeah.
Totally pretty different for him, but he just dominated it. He's done some like really funny bit parts and like Muppets Most Wanted and stuff like that. So he's a guy who like really didn't say, he just enjoyed it. You could just tell there was a ton of life and he just really was having fun with everything that he was doing. And it continues to suck that he was going to be doing so many more things and was just taken too soon. But remembering Ray Liotta today for sure. Kirk, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen Goodfellas, I mean, treat yourself to such a spectacular, well-constructed Scorsese film. Ray Liotta deserves all the accolades for that film because he is so charismatic and just carries that through line so well. He is just this wild, untamable energy that he just forces in there. And of if you've ever sent like a laughing GIF on your phone and you don't know who Ray Liotta is off the top of your head, you likely found the GIF of Ray Liotta laughing.
Always. Goodfellas.gif, Goodfellas.gif. Every time. That's me. Every time.
I mean, there's probably 45 within the past month of Cam sending that to me. It's so good. It's so good. Like you said, he, not taking himself too seriously, but always having fun, I think was critical. Like I was looking at his filmography and Wild Hogs is in there, with Tim Allen. And,
exactly.
He played a principal on Hannah Montana. And this man has done work with the best of the best and says, hey, that looks like a fun role. I'm going to take that and I'm going to have a fun time with it. Emmy-winning performance for his basically his at time death on ER many years ago. Like this man was so wonderful. It is a tragedy that he was gone too soon. Four or five films in production or filming in various states. Died on location in the Dominican Republic while filming Dangerous Waters. So we just wish the best to his family and the best for these productions to figure out a way to honor him and keep moving forward with their projects. And most of all, we will miss you, Ray Liotta.
Yes, absolutely. Well said, Kirk. Obviously gone, never forgotten. So glad. That is the one nice thing when it comes to film is like whenever we lose legends, we always have their art. We always have it to go back and revisit. And I love that. So yeah, definitely pouring one out for Ray Liotta this week. Definitely going to go back and revisit some of his greatest hits. It's, something that helps. It's like a really nice melancholy kind of honoring of a person who's lost to go back and watch their movies. I remember doing it when Philip Seymour Hoffman died. I've done it quite a few times since then. It just, it helps the process. But yeah, definitely thoughts and prayers out to his friends and family and all those he was working with and has worked with who were obviously close to him. So it's a tough one. But there's never any way to segue out of that, by the way. Anytime you have to do like an in memoriam, there's no easy way to do it. So we're just gonna keep powering through here. We have a ton of movie and TV news to talk about this past week. The releases that we got were heavy hitters. And so we're going to talk about the two big streaming releases, which, I mean, I can't remember a day in the last couple of years, like May 27th, when you get Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is probably the most anticipated television show of this year, new show, and Stranger Things returning after a super long, partially COVID-induced hiatus.
Yes.
Plus, you get Top Gun Maverick in theaters, which we'll be reviewing later this week, but we're not going to talk about it tonight. We're going to review it later this week, drop it on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, I mean, it's just a huge week of releases. So we are gonna make time in this show to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi and Stranger Things 4. No, we're not gonna spoil anything, I don't think.
I'm gonna tell all of the secrets.
Yeah, I have to be careful when I say that because the Obi-Wan thing, like,
we could probably talk about it without. We used to do spoiler-free reviews.
We used to do spoiler-free everything.
The talent to do this for this little chat.
Yeah, I think we can do it, and definitely with Stranger Things. I mean, to be honest, I'm only 2 episodes in anyway, because every episode is like longer than an hour. They're all like an hour 15, an hour 30, and then the ones at the end are like 2 hours long. So
right.
It's a bit of a haul. It's not like your typical binge. So I've watched 2 episodes, feels like 3, but we'll certainly talk about it without spoiling. And then Star Wars, man, we're going to get into it, but if there was a flavor of the month like Baskin Robbins for May, Star Wars is definitely the flavor of the month because the news is just flying through. They had their big Star Wars celebration, so we're going to get into all of that. Plus some casting news on True Detective, which is crazy. Didn't see that coming, and a bunch of other stuff. So we got no time to lose, Kirk. With your permission, let's pop it up.
Permission granted.
All right, Kirk. I want to start with Obi-Wan. I want to start with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh my goodness.
I'm so glad.
You were so ready for that. That scared me. I'm not going to lie. That did scare me.
This is why we started late to the podcast today.
Because Kirk was digging through all of his belongings to find his lightsaber. I respect it. This is why Kirk was like, hey, I'm trying as fast as I can to get on here. Really, he was just digging through toy bins to try to find the Obi-Wan lightsaber. But I do want to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi because he's my favorite Star Wars character ever, hands down. Kirk, where are you at on that? Is he top 5 or is he number 1?
I would say he's number 2 because I am a sucker for a protagonist. I love Luke more than anything.
You love Luke. Okay.
I love Luke, and Obi-Wan is right behind him.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, I've always loved Obi-Wan. I especially love the Ewan McGregor. And I'm just like, we have been asking for this since episode 3. Like, legitimately, it has been talked about. Not necessarily a show, because I don't think our young minds were able to comprehend such a thing as streaming and everything that came shortly after Revenge of the Sith. But I mean, certainly a movie. We always wanted Ewan to get another crack at this character to tell the story of the in-between between 3 and what's now called Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. And this is it. We're here after 15 years or so. Ewan gets another crack at it. It feels like, to me, emotionally, it feels kind of like vindication for the prequels, which I loved growing up. I mean, those movies were released when we were quite young, and I love it. I don't know if you've seen this, Kirk, but there's this clip of Freddie Prinze Jr. Talking, because he was a voice on, I believe, Star Wars Rebels.
Okay.
I can't remember. It's one of the animated shows. He was a voice, and he did this great. People were asking him about like the sequels, the prequels, the originals, like where does he stand on all of that? And he gives this great, I'll have to share it sometime, this great conversation about like, people didn't like the prequels when they were released. Well, guess what? It was released for the kids. And the sequels that got released recently, they're not for you. I mean, in a way they are, but they're really for the kids. Like, Star Wars has always been about the kids. It's about unlocking imagination, and it has to relate to the current generation that's coming up. And so even though those, and I don't know how you feel about this, Kirk, but even though those prequels were critically panned, to me, those movies are still like so close to my heart because I watched them over and over and over and over again as a kid, and like Ewan McGregor is my Obi-Wan, and Hayden Christensen. I mean, like, I know people just laugh at those performances, but now he's back, and I'm just so glad that it's like making my heart so full that they're back and able to do this. And we got the first 2 episodes of Kenobi to show for it. So how do you feel about that, Kirk? How do you feel about Obi-Wan Kenobi? How are you feeling about revisiting some characters that were only seen in the prequels?
Oh man, I feel so great about it. I think that my favorite thing about this news cycle about this is that Ewan McGregor actually has audio tapes downloaded to his phone or in his house that he has been listening about of Sir Alec Guinness in just throughout his life and career. So you get speech patterns that Obi-Wan is
Yes.
known for in Star Wars, and that Ewan McGregor has tried to do it again and emulate that. So I'm so thankful that we were given such an incredible actor to carry the weight of this role. Had we not, this role wouldn't be as significant and it
Yes.
wouldn't be as powerful to come back. We've talked about speculation about this for a long time, that we were hoping that the Obi-Wan series would be exactly what we're getting. And episode 1 and 2 are available now on Disney Plus, and it's exactly what people are hoping for.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up the thing about Alec Guinness. First of all, Alec Guinness, GOAT status. Like, only actor to ever win an Academy Award for acting in a Star Wars movie. He won it for his portrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Ben Kenobi, as he was known in A New Hope. Big time. And a really iconic performance. And I just love how you can tell that Ewan took the time. And he did it in the prequels too. You know, he really did try to make himself a young Alec Guinness. Like, he actually took time to make sure that that was a natural transition in the minds of the viewer. And now that he's a little bit older, you know, he's a 10 years more seasoned Obi-Wan Kenobi in transition of becoming Ben Kenobi, old man Ben, you know. He's morphed it even more to where it really is in this in-between state of being him, his old Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's incredible. And I think, you know, we all saw the trailers and we watched them intently. We picked up at all the little things about the Inquisitors and Riva and all of these characters that they're throwing in. But through the first 2 episodes, and I'm not going to spoil it, the main plot is something that is a total left hook. I mean, I think they totally kept it secret. I was trying to avoid leaks and stuff like that, but it seems to me they kept it secret, and it's kind of a huge thing that they're trying to pull off here. And honestly, through the first 2 episodes of 6, it's working really well. And I feel like what they're setting up, it has potential to be really, really epic.
Yeah, it really does. And there's still mystery around it. Like, there's all
Yes.
of these ideas of speculation that while you're watching, like, are they going to do this? And then sometimes they give your answer right away, and then other times they pull back just a little bit, but not like
Yes.
far-fetched, not like throwing like 18 different storylines at you. It's pretty concise and it's very engaging. Every shot is intentional, and that's what's key about this. Speaking of for the kids, there are moments in this. This doesn't give anything away, but there's a moment in here where you have a character who has a piece of technology that they're obsessed with, and it's like, hey, stop playing with that. Kind of like someone playing with their phone, like kids today.
Or like Tamagotchis back in the day.
Tamagotchi. And I think that's so great. As you said, it's for the kids. It really is, because to bring this wonderment to remind people of use your imagination, think about crazy situations, imagine being somewhere else. But guess what? You can still apply that to real life. So the connections and the illusions they make are so rich and so exciting. This show is off to a great start.
I agree. I'm very excited about what's to come. I have always hated that it's only 6 episodes. I've been saying that ever since they announced it, because I just like I'm jealous. I want to selfishly and jealously grab all of the Obi-Wan Kenobi content that I can. So it's sad that we're already a third of the way through, and I just feel like there's so much there. But I'm excited. Also, last bit, because you know I'm a movie nut, or music nut, I should say. When it comes to the music, the incredible Natalie Holt, who did the music for Loki, is the one scoring this. They've sort of, for these new shows, they go with different composers, not just John Williams, but John Williams specifically asked if he could compose a theme for Obi-Wan Kenobi because it's the one character he wanted. He never got to write a theme for him. Obi-Wan never had his own theme in the
Right.
original movies and things like that. And Natalie Holt is doing an awesome job on the music. So obviously, like, I'm not taking anything away from her. In fact, I think everything that she's done in the show is incredible too. But for me, I am so in love with John Williams' theme for Obi-Wan Kenobi, the character, because it is, first of all, gorgeous and intelligent as it always is, always very thoughtful with John Williams. But the fact that there are melodic lines in there that closely mirror the main Star Wars theme just tells you how he feels Obi-Wan Kenobi fits into Star Wars. It's like he is the Star Wars character. Like he's almost he's almost the main character in a way. And I just thought that was so awesome. So that theme is awesome. All the music by Natalie Holt is awesome. Deborah Chow, amazing job directing and show running this thing so far. I'm very excited for more. Very excited.
Incredible. It's incredible. It's like being a kid again. It really is.
It really is. All right. But I want to talk about the other Star Wars stuff because Kenobi isn't the only thing that was grabbing headlines last week as it relates to Star Wars. There are a ton of things happening. So Star Wars has a convention similar to how like Star Trek or these other massive fandoms do. They have a convention called Star Wars Celebration. They have it annually. This year they had it in Anaheim and it just wrapped up last week. During that event, lots of new stuff comes to the forefront, lots of new news. It's kind of like when Disney does their D23 Expo or when there's Comic-Con in San Diego. Like there's always news that they want to share with their most diehard fans. So I want to go through and recap some of these big stories that came out of Star Wars Celebration, even after all of the big news that came out in the Vanity Fair article prior to Kenobi last week. So let's get into it a little bit here. First of all, is a show that for a long time has been on the docket, but we hadn't really seen much of. And we kept hearing it's coming this year, it's coming this year. And we're like, what is going on? And that's Andor. So I'm going to throw the trailer on the screen here for Andor. This trailer, man, it's epic. I mean, like, I don't know what to expect because so it's based on Cassian Andor, which for those of you who are not as close to all of this as we stay, is a Rogue One character. And spoiler alert, on Rogue One, everyone dies. That's sort of like the main thing about that movie. So this is more about Cassian Andor that we didn't really get to experience in Rogue One. So many awesome characters get introduced in that movie, but we don't get much about like where they came from. There's so much allusion to their history and what they're about, but we don't get to see the full story. So this show, Andor, is meant to be that. It's meant to bridge that gap and tell us what they know. But there are some really cool things in here. First of all, clone troopers and clone starships. This is like this is also in that same area. Like I think it's around the same time as Kenobi. They take place at similar times. So it's like not fully ramped up Empire, but they're getting there. It's like that transition from after Episode 3 into Star Wars: A New Hope. And yeah, Stellan Skarsgård's in this thing. The cast looks great. The production looks awesome. The music is really good. Kirk, what did you think of this trailer?
Oh my goodness, the music drew me in so much. I know that you are often listening for that on the very first moment. That's what got me on this when he's in that tower and he's banging that thing. It's like signaling to the town, whatever it may be, like, "Hey, morning, get up, go to work, make this town work. Hey, get up, we're under attack." You know, whatever that might be. I'm very interested in how that plays out. I'm just so crazy about this series as well because Rogue One was such a surprise, and I really want to see in this a lot of our main characters come back, a lot of our main actors from Rogue One appear, even if it's glimpses, even if it's they accidentally brush against the other characters, because we meet them on their journey a little bit later, but. I want to see Donnie Yen get blinded in this before we meet him a little bit later and him have nothing to do, maybe by accident, by one of the other events. I want to see Felicity Jones walking around and buying something in the market and then going and like beating someone up and like saving a small child. These are the things that I'm looking forward to seeing this and to see how it integrates in the bigger picture of the Death Star and the entire Star Wars universe.
Yeah, Rogue One is so interesting, and you want so much more of it because, it's so rare because it's one of those things that is universally loved among the Star Wars fandom, which is few and far between. There really are not many of those things anymore. It's like Empire Strikes Back and Rogue One. Like those are the things that everybody agrees. Like, yes, this is awesome. This is good Star Wars content. And with Rogue One being the first spinoff, it was a surprise to your point that it was so well received and so well executed, especially considering we felt like this was the only time we were going to see these characters. But this show shows us and is going to show us how they can continue to tap into these characters at different points along the timeline. And Diego Luna is one of the most underrated actors out there right now. I don't know how this guy isn't a massive superstar, because I think everything that he does is pretty much incredible. So this has me very hyped, and the trailer definitely backed that up.
I mean, they must have just given him a retainer and said, "Hey, listen, we're not ready to do that show yet, but we
Yeah,
will bring you back. We know we just killed you off." Like I think as soon as they wrap production, they must have because yeah, he's got a whole bunch of credits, but not nearly enough as he should at this point in his career. It's kind of crazy, or maybe he's just careful. I don't know, but it's incredible that he's coming back to this show as well.
what's also crazy is that they announced that it's already been confirmed for a season 2, a 12 episode season 2. So
Wow.
they're pouring a ton of screen time into this story and these characters, and the expectation is that it's going to lead up to Rogue One, that the events of this show, whether and I don't know if it was kind of cryptic, like I couldn't tell if they were saying that just season 1 was going to lead up to Rogue One. It seems like it would have to be the whole show. Like when the show reaches finality, it would be like, boom, here's where you left him and here's where you pick him up in Rogue One. So that has major potential, and I'm very excited about it. It premieres on Disney Plus August 31st, so really not too far away. We're only a couple months away. Some other big stories, and I want to go through these kind of quickly. The John Watts Star Wars series that we've been hearing so much about, that it's coming, and it's part of the reason that he's out on Fantastic Four is that he's worked on this, and he's trying to kind of like dip his toes into different waters. But his series now has a title, finally, and it is Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and really interesting, Jude Law. Jude Law is going to be starring in this one, which definitely caught me by surprise, but in all the right ways. But what's interesting is that this show has always been or has been described as of last week when we finally started hearing details as like this sort of Spielberg coming of age type of show. But the first character that we hear named is Jude Law, which is kind of interesting because he's not like a 10-year-old kid or something. So it'll be interesting to see what this is. No real details outside of that bit I told you about Spielberg coming of age story. And they said the story will follow a group of kids that are around the age of like 10 years old. Think E.T., right? But it's not a kid's show. They were specific to say that it's not a kid's show. So knowing that, Kirk, and knowing that Jude Law is involved in this somehow, how are you feeling about this show? I mean, obviously details are sparse, but just where's your head at?
Yeah, this is Stranger Things in the Star Wars universe.
Ooh,
We're gonna get brutal. We're gonna get big laughs. We're gonna get Stand By Me-esque stuff going on in
yeah,
here. And I think that this could be really cool. Again, we don't know anything about this, but we've often talked about how great it was to see at the end of Force Awakens, the kid moves the broom with his Jedi hand, and
yes,
it's like maybe this happens there. Like, let's see the next generation of
oh yeah, the
Jedi
Last
being
Jedi, yeah,
Oh, The
yeah,
Last Jedi.
yep,
Let's see the next generation of them rising up. That'd be a great place to start because that was always a fascinating shot, a fascinating moment. And
yes.
then we really didn't get a lot of that in Rise of Skywalker. So if this starts there, my mind will be blown, and I will know that every single Hollywood studio and government entity and big bank is listening to every conversation I have and has a
Yes.
chip in my head already. So, and I'm fine with that because if this is what I get as a result, I'm here for it.
Well, I would love to see more exploration of the Force, like you're alluding to, Kirk, like with The Last Jedi. That was such a tantalizing final
Oh,
scene in that movie, and then they don't touch it again in Rise of Skywalker. You're like, what? Like, what was the point of that? But there is this idea that there have to be all these other. The Force is an entity of its own. It sort of keeps balance and decides how things go. There are obviously other Force sensitive people out there, whether you know Jedi are sort of extinct by the end of Return of the Jedi, which is when this show is supposed to come around. So it'll be interesting to see if this show delves into that, or if they go more into like civilians. Like what is it like to be a civilian in the Star Wars universe? What is it like to be a kid living in the Outer Rim or something like that? Like what's kind of crazy stories and antics come up, which I think could be cool too to kind of ground things. So um, definitely licking my lips on this one. I can't wait to see what they come up with.
and I mean, you have Jude Law. I mean, there's nothing that
Yes.
can go wrong with this role. I mean, he's not your straight-laced actor. He's not your A-list actor
No.
anymore like he was when he first, came in, but he has really shaped himself up to be like, I'm here to create some really cool and interesting things that you're
Yes.
going to remember for the rest of your life. And that's exactly what we want in Star Wars. So super pumped that he's part of this project.
Yeah, same here. It's exciting, and so some of the other things coming out of Star Wars Celebration that I do want to touch on real quick. We have a release window for The Mandalorian season 3. A lot of people were expecting sort of like end of this year, but it's actually going to be February of 2023. They did apparently show a trailer for it at the Star Wars Celebration, so that tells me that there is a trailer out there, and it's probably only a matter of a couple of weeks before we get eyes on it as the layman's here that weren't at Star Wars Celebration. But apparently the trailer, one detail that I can remember from reading the flurry of tweets that we're going through about it is that Din Djarin is returning to Mandalore to ask for basically forgiveness of his transgressions against the Mandalorian way of life, taking off his helmet. Some of the things that we saw in Book of Boba Fett that kind of put him on the bad side of the Mandalorians. Him and Grogu are going to go try to make amends there. So that's an interesting plot detail. They did say Bo-Katan will be back, which we knew we'd want more of that. And that season 4 is in the works with Jon Favreau already writing it. So I mean, when you get to that season 3, season 4 era, like this is establishment premium TV that we're talking about at that point. Like this story has a lot to tell apparently. And I love what they've done so far. So I'm excited about that.
Can you imagine being Jon Favreau? Like, you have a creative idea and it hits. I mean, it like gangbusters. Like this
Yes.
is the greatest thing. This changes the scope of film. This is wonderful. Let's create a whole new genre. And then they're like, "Hey, can you do that again?" And he's like, yeah. And he goes into his home and he locks all the doors and he just writes and writes and writes and writes and doing that over and over and over and over again. The stakes are so high for him, man.
Yeah.
And somehow he continues to deliver. So shout out to Jon Favreau. Like
Yes.
you are incredible.
Well, I mean, coming up with an idea for Grogu, I mean, holy crap. Talk about
Absolutely.
that's probably $1 billion idea. Like I'm not trying to like be hyperbolous here. Like it literally, I can't imagine how much money, like gross revenue that has driven for Disney with all of the Grogu merch, everything, like making that show as popular as it is by dropping just that character at the end of episode 1 of The Mandalorian
Right.
on the first day of Disney Plus. Like, holy crap. That alone is such an insane thing. And The Mandalorian, again, I only mentioned Empire Strikes Back and Rogue One earlier, but The Mandalorian has been really well received. I know that people have had some gripes with Book of Boba Fett in terms of like it's a show about Boba Fett or it's called Boba Fett and the last 2 episodes get hijacked by The Mandalorian. But I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you're just like, I don't care what it's called. These are stories that I want told, and this is super fun. At least that's how I felt. So more Mandalorian is a good thing. More Mandalorian is a good thing.
It's honestly, I mean, if they, I mean, if they didn't have him at all in the show, then it would be like, well, why is it called the Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah.
But really, it's showing you how these worlds interconnect and how great and how their lives are affected by each other. That they're the same world. So if you're throwing shade at that, get out of here. Like, we don't want to hear it.
Well, I know
Now,
people didn't like all of the time in the Tusken Raider camp, which I have to say I actually really liked it. And a
Yeah.
lot of people griped about Boba Fett going from like killer instinct, mercenary, crazy, like bad guy to I'm super nice. I don't kill people. I'm the drug lord who is like I'm like the Robin Hood drug lord here, just trying to help the the streets. But I actually thought that worked. Like I thought that story worked, and of course, Star Wars doesn't want one of their most valuable characters to be pure evil.
No.
But he's not pure good either. He really is just he had a bit of a spiritual awakening when he came out of the Sarlacc pit, and I think that's fine. I don't know. I think people get uptight about the wrong things.
Big life moments change the trajectory of your life, which is exactly what they lined up with Boba Fett. I mean, if you can't follow that story, then you shouldn't be watching, and you are forbidden from your opinion.
Wow. That's intense. That's
Let me turn on
intense,
my
Kirk.
lightsaber while I say
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
If you
Be really threatening about it.
just say anything bad about the Book of Boba Fett, I will find you.
Oh boy, yeah, that's a sore subject for Kirk. He's gonna get after you. Last couple things from Star Wars Celebration, real quick. There is a new animated show coming this year from Dave Filoni. So for all of you who love all the Star Wars TV content, love the Clone Wars, love Rebels, Dave Filoni is the guy. Him and Jon Favreau are the two geniuses running the whole. They're the Kevin Feige's keeping everything in line here. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy obviously at the top of Lucasfilm, but when it comes to like creative direction of the shows, those two guys are doing amazing things. And he has a new show called Tales of the Jedi coming out, which sounds almost what if like in nature, in the sense that it's a TV show that has a series of disconnected sort of stories. So they said there's going to be stories about Qui-Gon Jinn, where Liam Neeson will actually be returning to play the voice of Qui-Gon Jinn, and his son will play the voice of young Qui-Gon Jinn, which is just really cool as a dad. Like that would be a cool thing to experience. They're going to dive more into Ahsoka, which I know people love that character. I love that character deeply. Going all the way back to when she was a child, showing her mother. There's going to be at least 3 episodes on that. And they're going to have episodes. This is what I'm really excited about. Count Dooku. When Count Dooku was a Jedi working under Mace Windu. And remember, Yoda was his master and he was
Right.
Yoda's Padawan. They're going to go back. So there was a piece of concept art with Count Dooku wearing Jedi robes, blue lightsaber, the whole thing. Has potential to be really, really cool. So Tales of the Jedi comes out, I believe, late fall of this year, and that's going to be must watch.
Bring it on.
And finally, we got a new trailer for The Bad Batch Season 2. So again, Clone Wars and Rebels fans rejoice. The Bad Batch, I know the first season was well received. To be honest, I started my rewatch of Clone Wars to prepare for Bad Batch and then never finished it. So I'm still trying to finish that before I go into it, but I'm excited about it. And Star Wars Visions, which is the anime series, like the series of anime shorts that they had, which was freaking awesome. If you're like not into anime or not into animated content, start there. I feel like that. I'm not like a huge anime fan, but I like the artwork and I like the genre. And Star Wars Visions was really sick. So they're doing a season 2 of that, and I think that's a good thing. And if you haven't tried it, I think you should, because it's really fun. Really, really fun. All right. I think that's it. For Star Wars Celebration. And if they could just pause on Star Wars news for a little bit, that would be great, because it's a lot right now.
Because we need to process all of those things and make sure we don't lose sight of ourselves and go on a destructive path like Boba Fett did, and he decided to change into a Zen master. Need I say more?
No, you don't need to say more. But
fire my missile from my Millennium Falcon into the camera. Yeah!
Nice. Oh, that was a good effect. That's gonna be really good. It's not good radio, but it's great YouTube.
Thank you.
I will say though, as the last thing to wrap this up, as a Star Wars fan, I feel like the outlook is as good as it has been in my life for Star Wars content. Like I feel very confident in a lot of the TV show content that they've spun out. Obi-Wan Kenobi looks really good so far. I really liked Book of Boba Fett. I love The Mandalorian. So this makes me feel really good about Andor. about Ahsoka, about all the shows to come, all the animated stuff. Like I am, with no movies in the immediate pipeline for Star Wars, I have to say I'm as excited as I've ever been about this world.
Same deal. Same deal. I can't fathom how they put all these pieces together, but I'm so glad the creative minds came together. Thank you so much. And just a reminder, we are available. We are available anytime to come help you
Oh,
with anything you
Kirk.
want, or just be on set, whatever you want. Shamelessly plugging. We will happily just be there to
Yeah,
be
I'm also
eyes.
available if anybody wants to give me $1 billion.
Yeah,
Always available for that. Always available for anybody who wants to pay me to do nothing. That would be good too.
yeah. Are
Yeah.
are y- are you are you shaming my hyperbolous dream
Well,
of
I
us
have to
being
say,
on the Star Wars
I'm not
sets?
shaming it, but I'm just saying, like, you're always on that train, man.
I am.
You're, and I respect the hustle. I do, but I don't have enough confidence in our abilities. I'm glad that you do. I'm glad that like
I
you're the
do.
one who's like we could take this. We could be Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. I don't necessarily feel that way, but you do, and I love you for that. So
We will be one day. Trust me, my friend.
we're not even trying to go down that path. We're just trying to podcast. Like, it's not like we're writing scripts in our free time, writing Star Wars scripts. Unless you are. Are you holding out on me, Kirk?
That is confidential information.
There it is. There it is. All right, let's move on to the other big release of last week. Stranger Things 4. Stranger Things 4. Wow, it has been a long time since we have been in Hawkins. It has been a long time, and this season we're not going to spoil anything. We're just going to talk about it because I'm only 2 episodes in. They dropped 7, so they're doing this thing with this really annoying things that people are doing right now, where it's like, well, and by people I mean Netflix. They're doing season 4. They did this with Ozark too. Season 4, volume 1 or whatever, part 1, and then they'll do a part 2 on July 1st. Really what they should do is just go to the week to week, just give it up, go week to week like everybody else. So, because what they want is the community engagement. And what I've already seen is Netflix spoiling its own show 3 days after it's been released because
Yes.
different people are at different points. And I'm like, if you want to communicate with people and you want people to have conversations about your content on social media, post it an episode at a time, like The Mandalorian, like WandaVision, the stuff that Disney Plus is doing, the stuff that HBO does, and you will get that. I don't understand. Anywho, the first 7 episodes of Stranger Things 4 are out. They are long. They are very long. They're all like an hour 20, hour 15, and then some of them are like super long at the end. But Kirk, I want to get initial thoughts on the return to Hawkins, your thoughts on season 4, obviously spoiler free. And I'll give my thoughts and we'll kind of go from there.
Spoiler free. Stranger Things 4 opens up and it is the same crew that you've always known and loved. And they do this incredible thing where when a season of any TV show ever made adds a new character, you're like, oh, great. Now I got to learn how this person ticks. But whatever formula that the Duffer brothers are using, they always kill it because we are introduced immediately to a new character. And I rolled my eyes immediately and I said, oh, this is where they derail. And then 3 minutes later, I'm like, don't you dare get rid of that person. Like,
You're like, I would die for that person.
that's right. That's right. And they did it 3 times in the first 2 episodes. And I'm telling you, every one of those people I would gladly see into the final season 5. I hope they make it. But as we know with Stranger Things 4 or any of the seasons, who knows? They're on a limited timeline. It's dark. It is darker than ever.
Yes.
But that's kind of what you come for Stranger Things. Like you come for a world that you were not a part of.
Yes.
Or I hope that no one is a part of this world.
I mean, I dabble in it. Let's be honest. I dabble in the upside down here and there.
Oh, is that what that dark portal is behind
That's
you?
what it is. Yeah. If you see any
yeah.
like dark little ash crystal things floating around me, that's that.
Yes. Is your nose bleeding as well there, Cam? I see a little drip
Yeah,
there.
that's right.
I see.
Yeah, it is good to be back. It is darker than ever. I have to say, and I posted this in Discord today. I don't know. How is this TV 14?
No.
I am not like I'm genuinely asking. I know I'm closer to the ratings when it comes to movies. I can pretty much like I know the requirements for being R versus PG-13, and those things change over time, etc. You know how many times you can use the F word, what context you can use it in, etc. But the the gore and horror elements that they have going on this season, and I'm 2 episodes in, mind you. I'm sitting here going, how is this TV-14? How is it? I genuinely don't know. And they had stuff in the previous seasons. I asked the same question, but this season especially, um, I don't understand it. I don't care about it because I watch things that are TVMA that are hardcore. But like, I think about the things that they couldn't show in The Walking Dead, and I'm like, but look what they're doing here.
Right.
How is that allowed?
Right. I mean, it makes no sense. My mind was blown when you reminded us that it was
Yeah,
TV-14. Netflix pretty much only releases things that are TVMA. So the
yeah,
fact that this is still at least this season, or maybe different seasons are TV-14 and TVMA. I mean, you're close to like an NC-17 rating on this just for thematic. Like not really, but it's just very intense. Way more than TV-14. Some people were freaking out about the Doctor Strange in the multiverse, the violence, the horror factors, and I'm like, dude, that's child's play. Like
yeah,
that
yeah,
that's
yeah.
TV-14 to me. This is more. And if you like that sort of thing, it's great for you. And if you don't, stay away. But you're spot on right there with the rating.
Can I be honest? Like I always try to I tend to be decently tough these days. You know, I'm a grown adult, so
Yeah.
I don't get spooked by much. But I watched episode 2 like late into the night on Saturday night, and I had a difficult time going to sleep. Like just being totally honest, I was a little bit spooked, and
Yeah.
it was funny because I don't really find myself in that position too often these days with the number of movies I've watched, the number of scary movies I've watched, etc. But there's something about those first 2 episodes that was just pretty chilling to me, honestly. Um, and yeah, it got to me. It got to me at 2 a.m. I was like, "Ooh, I don't, I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can handle it." But I
Yeah.
will say that overall, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. I don't know what they're building to yet because I'm not through the first 7 episodes. But off to a good start. The performances have been good. I think the timeline gets a little foggy here because the kids look so much older.
Oh yeah.
And obviously, like kids grow up really fast at that stage in life anyway. So that kind of helps. You know, I have nephews who are like going through that phase of life. Right? I mean, you and I both do,
Yep.
and they change really quickly, and they start to look like adults like very fast. I'm like somewhat okay with it, but Will Byers looks like he's about 25 years old. I mean, they're like, listen, man, we're doing the bowl cut because like you're gonna look like a grown man if we don't. Um, it's interesting, and obviously, like Nancy and Jonathan still being in high school is a preposterous thing, but it's nothing outside of the realm of what we've seen in TV before, One Tree Hill, and the like.
Oh yeah.
But that notwithstanding, it's off to a good start. And I agree, they're doing some Russo brothers type stuff with the way that they're balancing characters. It's very impressive. They're adding more characters to a cast that was already enormous and doing it with such ease. So I'm excited. I'm excited about where things are heading. I'm going to race through the last 5 episodes of Volume 1, Stranger Things 4, and be ready to go on July 1st when those other 2 episodes come out.
It's gonna be wild.
It's going to be wild. All right, moving along. We do have some other stories we want to talk about that are not Stranger Things or Star Wars related. We're going to go through these quick. The first one is True Detective. It's so funny. With COVID, some of these things have been delayed longer than they normally would, and so they totally fall out of your brain entirely. And True Detective was already a show where there was kind of a longer-ish lapse in between seasons because they're always like changing the cast. They're writing a totally different story. Well, True Detective season 4 is on the way from HBO, and Jodie Foster has been cast in the lead role. I don't know why. Every time they cast somebody, I fall out of my chair. Like for True Detective, season 2, the casting, I was like, they did what? Rachel McAdams?
Yeah.
The whole thing caught me off guard, and that season, unfortunately, was awful. Season 3, which I think I really, really liked with Mahershala. I was like, Mahershala Ali, Academy Award winner, 2-time Academy Award winner. And now Jodie Foster, I
Right.
could not believe it. And she is incredible and does amazing things still to this day. Her abilities, it's like Silence of the Lambs to now, the skill level is still there, if not heightened. And this role, like the idea of her being like a hard-nosed detective in a messed up crime, like a thick web of crime stories, like I am so giddy about that because I know she's just going to kill it.
Yeah. I mean, Jodie Foster, two-time Academy Award winner
Yes.
for a couple of movies, Silence of the Lambs, and it was either Nell or The Accused that she won for her other. I just can't quite remember. And she absolutely deserves this role. When you think
Yes.
of a cop, you think, yes, Jodie Foster can easily step into that role, and I'm sure it'll be played very different from her others, and it will be very exciting. I, confession, have never watched True Detective,
Ooh,
and I think it's time I start because I mean there have been two great seasons, one in between, and I got to be caught up for when Jodie Foster steps in.
absolutely. And the other reason that this catches off guard is um, the fact that she really doesn't do a ton these days. Like if you look at her filmography, which I did the other day, um, The Mauritanian, which got some critical acclaim back in
Yeah,
2021, but before that, it was like nothing. She was in Hotel Artemis in 2018, and then her last thing before that was Elysium, which
yeah,
was
and
2013 and
she
was
did, yeah,
terrible.
yeah. She did some directing as
Yes,
well.
yes,
I don't know if she was directing TV shows, but she definitely directed a movie that I think is brilliant and underrated. It's called The Beaver, and it does have
yes.
Mel Gibson in it, but she's in it. She's the director. She's in it with him. Anton Yelkin, rest in peace, and Jennifer Lawrence are all in this cast. Like it's
Amazing.
insanely good, heavily about the struggles of mental health and the importance of family and understanding and accepting others. And man, Jodie Foster, I thought there was a period of time where I thought Jodie Foster was just kind of like, cashed out, retired,
Yeah,
what will you? And she's coming back in full force. Absolutely.
yeah. This feels perfect for her. I can't wait to see it. It's I'm hyped. I'm hyped for True Detective season 4. Other thing, man, so many surprising stories this week. Sony, we're sort of at the peak of video games being adapted into movies, and while that is going on, Sony says movies we can do TV too. So they're already doing The Last of Us for HBO.
Okay.
That was announced a long time ago. That's Pedro Pascal. That's based off of a heavily critically acclaimed video game series, The Last of Us Zombies. But the new ones that were released, that were announced this week, they're making a Horizon show, which I have played the first 2 Horizon games. I absolutely love that franchise. They're doing that with Netflix. They're making a God of War TV show with Amazon. That is a huge video game franchise, maybe the biggest one that has happened in the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, massive franchise. And then they're also going to make a Gran Turismo TV show, but haven't been announced where that's going to land in terms of streaming. But Sony is in there making video game franchises into TV shows and doing it with multiple different streaming studios.
Wait a second. I've heard a lot of cool stuff, but have they considered Crazy Taxi as a television
Oh,
series?
dude, that would be lit. That would be amazing. They
Yes,
should.
please. Or Untitled. What's that one that our nephews also play? Untitled Goose
Untitled
Game.
Goose Game. Yeah. I think that's an independent developer, so Sony doesn't own it, but whoever owns it should do it. I
Yes,
would also
please.
watch it. Like if we're making video game content, I have a list. I want, and this is not all Sony, obviously. I want Banjo Kazooie.
Yeah.
I want the Mario stuff. It's ridiculous we don't have more Mario content in our lives.
Right.
Nintendo just jealously holds all of their copyright, all of their intellectual property so close to the vest. I hate them for it. Crash Bandicoot, duh. Sly Cooper, duh. Grand Theft Auto. Don't want to get greedy, but I mean, there's amazing
yeah.
things that could happen. But Sony's out here doing the dang thing. They said we got our own IP, and we're gonna milk that cash cow. We're gonna milk it. And the Horizon series is awesome. It has massive potential as a TV show. It's about the world in the way far future. All of civilization has died off and come back. Like it's gone through a whole cycle where humans are repopulating the earth and the earth is overrun by these machines. It's awesome. So I'm hyped. I'm hyped for it. Even though video game content is like always scary because it's rarely good. It's almost never good.
Like Uncharted, which was supposed to turn the page, and it definitely did not.
Maybe that should have been a TV show.
Maybe, I mean, that could have been more of an adventure, even if it was a limited series.
Right.
Start it, label it as a limited series.
Sure.
If it does well, open up a season 2, surprise everyone. Like, we had it planned the whole time. You're absolutely right. It should have been. I mean,
yeah, they did with Halo, which I hated that series, but maybe this stuff works better as a TV series. I mean, they are video game series. They are very long.
Right.
So maybe that's the route to go. Hopefully Sony's figured something out here. I would be excited for any of these to turn out good. So we'll see.
Crazy Taxi and The Simpsons Sunday Drive, which is essentially the same game.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same game. Only one you get to be Homer Simpson, screaming out crazy things, and the other one you're just a taxi driver.
That's all I want, and then I'll be happy. I can die.
And you don't actually want it to be a show. You just want it to be a running loop of somebody playing that game. So you just want like a Twitch stream. That's all you want. Just like, hey, is there anybody out there streaming Crazy Taxi? Let's hook Kirk up with a link here if anybody's got it.
That's what I got to do after this. I'm going to figure out how to.
That's going to be your claim to fame. Your Twitch channel with Crazy Taxi and Sunday Drive.
Podcast too. What? Have you seen him play Crazy Taxi though?
Amazing. Okay. Next up, last couple things. They have already updated the CGI in the She-Hulk trailer, as we alluded to last week. These things are fluid. I think the people who are in charge of the art were probably so ticked about the trailer going out, and they're like, it's not finished, it's not ready, don't do it. And then whenever it happened, and they're like, hey, we're getting a lot of backlash. They were like, I told you. I've worked with enough developers like in my life to know how that conversation went, and I don't blame them. But the CGI looks much better now.
Yeah, I'm sure they were just like screaming at the top of their lungs, like, "Are you kidding me?
We told you not to do it."
Grab their nearest caffeine drink, Pepsi. Feel free to sponsor us. And they said, I am not going to sleep until I give them a new version of the CGI. I mean, I think within 1 week or less, we had the.
It was a week.
CGI.
Yeah. Immediate. Okay, their Variety is reporting a live-action Speed Racer series is in the works at Apple TV Plus with J.J. Abrams set to executive produce. Which, like, how does this man have any time? He. There were reports earlier this week that DC was mad at him because he has so many characters that he's like laid claim to that he is like wanting to like EP shows for or showrun TV shows for that he's done nothing with. I'm like, hey man, before you start working Speed Racer, maybe there's some other stuff. I mean, he's a busy dude, but we'll see. That's one of those things that there's like a 95% chance that is a massive disaster and about a 5% chance that it's awesome, and there is no in between. Like there is not a middle ground.
Do you think Emil Hirsch returns?
No, no, I don't. And I think they're going to try to make this thing look as different from that as possible so people don't accidentally get them confused, because that was a nightmare. And finally, and I don't even want to give this airtime, but I'm going to, because then we can put it in the podcast description and all the people who think this is cool can search for it on Google and maybe we'll pop up. This Winnie the Pooh horror movie that's coming out. This thing, so first of all, background. The reason that this is happening, because I think a lot of people are like, what? Winnie the Pooh? And this is so dumb. The first thing that happens on Google when you type in Winnie is Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. That's the first thing that pops up now.
Gosh.
They're making a horror film called Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey about Winnie the Pooh and Piglet going on a murderous rampage because Christopher Robin like left for college or something like that. They've eaten Eeyore and now they're going to kill people. So the reason for this, again, it's now what is that called?
Public domain.
Public domain. It's public domain now because it's been around for 100 years. The original E.E. Milne character of Winnie the Pooh is not owned by Disney. They were licensing it for all of their stuff. Their character, their version of the character is still, I'm sure, legally protected and all those things. But the character Winnie the Pooh and all of the characters that go with it are public domain. And so you get people doing stupid stuff like this. And here's the thing. that I hate about this, because I've already seen this all over my Facebook and Twitter feed for the last 3 days. And this is I don't even think it's a hot take. It's just my take on it. This is a stupid idea. It's not even a smart idea. It'd be one thing if it was like really edgy and was a smart idea, but it's not smart. It's like any moron could have sat down and gone, hey, what if they made a Winnie the Pooh horror movie? That'd be funny, right? Like that. This is the dumbest thing that anyone has ever come up with. It's not even a good idea. And yet people are like, oh, how funny. And it's probably going to do really well. And I hate it. I hate that.
Yeah, this reminds me of when in high school, we had to make like these video projects in a response to like recreate The Great Gatsby. And I kid you not, this kid, he took like action figures and assigned like Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles and Star Wars characters as members of The Great Gatsby, and then murdered them all for no
Nice.
reason whatsoever with ketchup in the backyard. Like, this has probably already been done 100 times by a sophomore in any high school across the country.
Exactly.
But you don't need to make this into a major motion picture.
Exactly right. You're exactly right, Kirk. This has probably been the idea of 1,000 million high schoolers at some point or another. Like, this is that level of creativity.
Shout out Clay.
This is stupid high schooler idea level creation right here. Like, this is that, it's that bad. And that's what I hate about it. Like, if they actually came up with something that was dark but like thoughtful,
yeah,
that would be awesome. I don't know. I like crazy ideas. Like, I love the idea of the Will Smith thing, the Fresh Prince thing, the Bel Air show, which I never watched, but the concept of it, I was like, hey, that's cool. Like, let's turn it into a drama.
Right,
and
because you're like, wow, the outcome of that, of making it a comedy, was finding optimism in a terrible situation. But you're like, no, dude was in a bad situation.
Yeah.
Let's play that out. Yeah, absolutely.
But this is not creative. This is like somebody forced you to come up with an idea in 30 minutes, and this is what you came up with. Like, it's that bad.
It's Chucky, right? It's child's play, but just with Winnie the Pooh dolls. Like, okay, congratulations.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it so much. Every time I see the link, and I know that we posted it, and we had to because everybody was talking about it, and so it's like you feel obligated to do it. But I hate this story, and I hope that it does terribly. I hope that it never gets done. I hope that it never gets made. I know that it's already like almost done, I guess, but I hope that it never sees the light of day, if at all possible.
Agreed. I think that whoever's distributing this, I think you're going to have a hard time, honestly. I think you're going to have a hard time getting this distributed massively.
Yeah, and like, think about what you're doing to the kids too. Like, what if your kid stumbled across this somehow?
Right.
You know, so many kids love Winnie the Pooh. My kids both loved Winnie the Pooh so much, like the Disney stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not smart. It's stupid. I hate it. I'm done with it.
Let it die on YouTube, and let's move on.
Let's move on. All right. We're going to end it there because I'm fired up, and I don't want to.
Fired up.
I want to come after these guys.
Boba Fett people, and we're going to get the Winnie the Pooh of horror film people with my plastic.
With your lightsaber.
$30 lightsaber.
We're going to lead the charge. Ooh, that actually sounded really good on the mic just now. You might have to turn that off. They're probably going to get muted for copyright. They're going to be like, wait a second, Skywalker sound effect was noticed in your video. You're now pulled down on every platform in the world. That's how crazy this stuff is. But we're going to leave it there. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening, if you're listening in podcast form. Like I said, later this week, Top Gun Maverick. I watched Top Gun this past weekend to get fired up for the big event. I'm ready. This is a legacy, what they call a legacy sequel. These have a name now. Legacy sequels. Think Creed, think Jurassic World, things like that. I don't even know if Jurassic World counts, but it's very exciting. We're excited to talk about it. We will have that episode releasing on Thursday. That's the plan. We will let you know if anything changes, but until that time, thank you guys so much for joining us. I want to give a special thanks to our executive producer, Ryan Spriggs, and the band Rhetoric, who created our original music. Top Gun Maverick, later this week, we'll be reviewing it, and we will see you then.
Talk to you then.
Bye!